These are Vessi Stormburst High Tops, and we're going to be talking about whether or not they're good for disc golf. So I'm going to go ahead and tell you this is not technically a sponsored video. We probably will be doing some sponsored videos from Vessi soon because we've been test running them for the past few months and deciding whether or not we wanted to work with them. And I'm really happy to report that I absolutely love these shoes. But everything I say here is going to be completely just my honest opinion. I am not a shoe person, I am a disc golf person. So that's mostly what we're going to be talking about, is how they function as disc golf shoes. But we're going to break it into 4 categories, being comfort, style, functionality, so like do they actually function well as a disc golf shoe, and then also price and affordability. Over the past about 3 months, I have been wearing them pretty much every day in my normal walking around, going to work kind of setting, but I've also been using them for an exorbitant amount of disc golf rounds. I've hiked a few mountains with them. I've used them for landscaping. I've used them for work projects. I went on a missions trip with my church and I wore them every single day of that trip, where I wore them outside in the mud constantly. I have seriously put these through pretty much as a torture test as you can get over a 3-month period. So starting with comfort, I'm going to give them a score out of 10 for each possible category. I love how these shoes feel. The fabric on the top is so unique. These shoes are 100% waterproof, and that's going to play into a few categories here. But for comfort, like I said, I walked through the mud a lot. I took them hiking a lot. I took them on disc golf courses a lot. Any sort of morning dew, or even walking through a creek to find a disc, things like that, which I do in Georgia here a lot. The water was absolutely no problem. It's super interesting. These shoes have good arch support. They have a pretty firm sole, but the top fabric feels almost like you're wearing a sock. It's super unique and it is super comfortable. I will say I wear these every day, and if I wasn't playing disc golf, I would still wear them pretty much every day. They're definitely more of a hiking type of shoe, but I wear these to work. I wear them when I walk my dog. The waterproof fabric is very legit, and I'll get more into that with functionality, but for comfort, I'm giving these a straight up 9 out of 10 for me personally. Again, I'm not a shoe guy. I've worn about as many shoes as the average American has, but these are some of the more comfortable shoes I have ever worn, regardless of whether it was a trail running shoe or a normal running shoe. I've worn a lot of basketball shoes over the years. These are super comfortable. I would normally not wear my shoes that I go disc golfing in my everyday life, but these are great for any situation. Talking about style now, they do have a handful of different colorways for this specific shoe, but Vessi is a pretty well-established company now that has a ton of different types of shoes and a ton of different styles in those shoes. Like I said, I'm mainly talking about the Stormburst High Tops that I'm wearing right now, but I do want to address Vessi as an entire company. They're not a disc golf shoe company. They are a shoe company that has found that their shoes work really well in disc golf, and so you might have seen they've had advertisements with Jomez, and they've advertised with other creators on the platform, and they're really bursting into the disc golf space. And the style options are awesome. I think the shoes look really clean. I think there's 4 or 5 different colorways for the high tops, specifically the Stormburst High Tops, and I notice that I get compliments on them all the time. Not a lot of people know Vessi is a kind of smaller company, so I have people asking me genuinely when I go to work or when I play disc golf or when I am just hanging out with people, I get asked about these shoes fairly often, and people always, compliment them. So I'm going to give style also a 9 out of 10. Really nice. Love the look, love the colorways that they do have. I think maybe it would get a 10 out of 10 if they had a few more colorways, but there's absolutely no complaints here. I get compliments on them all the time. Okay, jumping into functionality, this is the big one. I want to talk about whether or not they make a good disc golf specific shoe. There are a lot of trail running shoes out there that people use for disc golf. Adidas has some of the most popular ones, but you have Idios, which we've worked with. Those are also great shoes for disc golf. Robbie C, I believe, wears a sort of Columbia like high top hiking shoe. There's a lot out there, and this specifically, I think the comfort plays a big factor for me in it being a good disc golf shoe. I can walk for very long periods of time in this, and like I said, the top of the shoe feels like I'm wearing a sock, and it's very breathable. It's very comfortable. I really like it as a disc golf shoe overall. It has really good tread on it. It is very grippy. It's not the grippiest shoe that I've ever worn out on the course, but it is far and away grippy enough, more than grippy enough to be a super solid disc golf shoe. The waterproof thing was the biggest factor for me. I play in the mornings a lot. There's always dew. I play near water a lot. And like I said, I threw everything I could at this shoe and I have come out with dry feet every single time. There are a lot of water resistant shoes out there where if the water gets above the laces, it falls into the shoe. You probably know what I'm talking about. The shoes themselves are water resistant. So it's not too bad for like morning dew or stuff like that. But if you step in a puddle and the water goes above the laces, it's gonna sink into the shoe. With this, it's super unique. These Vessis, the laces are kind of stitched onto the fabric on top. So there's, you know, it's an entirely closed off thing all the way up the ankle. The only way you're getting water in these shoes is if you are in, you know, shin deep, knee deep water, which that's to be expected. But the fact that this strange sock material is waterproof and is also fairly breathable is crazy to me. I don't know how they do it. I don't know what type of fabric it is, but it's super unique, super comfortable, super waterproof. I'll show some video of that. Giving it an 8.5 out of 10 for functionality as a disc golf shoe. I think it's a fantastic disc golf shoe. These are very high scores, by the way. You might be thinking, why aren't you giving it 10 out of 10s? 10 out of 10s are reserved for perfection, and that doesn't really exist. So 8.5 out of 10 is very, very high just to set those standards there. Like I said, it's very, very grippy. It definitely makes a better like trail hiking shoe than a disc golf shoe for when, especially running up on the tee pad. Like I said, it is very grippy, but there are grippier shoes out there. Therefore, 8.5 out of 10, more than enough, way more than enough to be an excellent disc golf shoe. And I'm definitely gonna recommend it to any disc golfer I know. All right, and we're going to go to our final point, price and affordability. This was a little bit of a tough one. These shoes do cost $180 on their website. You do get free shipping though, which I have ordered shoes myself that required up to like $15, $20 of shipping. So $180, free shipping. $180 to me for a shoe, somebody who's very middle class, sounds like way too much right off the rip. That was my first impression of the price and affordability. I've done a decent amount of research though. This is kind of a high-end genre of shoes, specifically high top, waterproof, trail hiking / trail running shoes are very expensive. Adidas has their non-waterproof. I actually have a pair of Adidas Terexes that are water resistant. They don't have the Gore-Tex or whatever, and they were like 80, 90 bucks, and that's sort of more my price range typically. But for a true waterproof high top, really nice trail running shoe, the average is probably $150 to $250 from what I've seen. I could be wrong. Some of you out there might know of a shoe that you buy every year for 100 bucks, but I definitely know they also exist closer to the price point of $300. So this really is, depending on how you look at it, more in the mid-range of price tiers. It's definitely more expensive than something like Ideo. I would say after the research I've done, like my initial impression, I'm like $180 is so much money. But considering I have absolutely abused the heck out of these shoes over the past couple months, and they're showing very little signs of wear, there's a little bit of scuffing around the edges. I think these shoes worn in normal conditions, trail running, disc golf, everyday use, would last the test of time. So for the price / affordability, and I'm really gonna call it like the price ascribed to this specific shoe, I'm gonna give it a 7 out of 10. I think it's definitely worth the price, but in no way is it like a budget option that I'd be like, hey, this is a great bargain to go and get these shoes. I do think it is, I think it's an accurate assessment of how much the shoes are worth, because I've bought a ton of $50 pairs of shoes that I play disc golf in and tear a hole in them because I drag my toe, and then they're useless to me like after 2 months. So, you know, buy a $50 pair of shoes every 3 or 4 months, or buy a $180 pair of shoes that might last you a couple years. I'm gonna tally up that total score for you here on the screen. Overall, really excellent shoe. Definitely getting the Swanky seal of approval, especially for disc golf specifically. I don't think you're gonna be able to go wrong with these shoes. I really wanna try some of their other options for more everyday walk around shoes, but these are sick. I can't wait to keep wearing them. We'll probably be doing sponsored videos on the main channel for them because we really like the shoe. That's gonna do it. Thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you in the next one. Stay swanky.